Well, hello there. This is Mark Morgan, and today you're going to learn a very specific task, and that is utilizing Dropbox on your iPads in your one-to-one iPad classrooms to not only distribute documents electronically, but to allow the students to complete the documents, say, for example, a math page, and then also for them to submit that document back to you, the teacher, using Dropbox on the iPad. Many of you are familiar with Dropbox, and this walkthrough assumes that you have a Dropbox account, but I will give you a few reminders on setup here, okay? In order to do this, we're going to be using three tools besides the iPad and your computer itself. We're going to be using an app that the district is making sure everyone has called Notability, which is primarily a note-taking app that allows handwriting, natural handwriting as well as typing, and also recording of audio. But in this case, it will allow you to annotate PDFs or electronic documents. So we'll be using Notability, we'll be using Dropbox, of course, and in this case, we'll be using PDF files, which can be saved from scans, etc. Okay, so let's get started. First, if you don't have Dropbox installed on your iPad Sync computer, you simply do that by going to Dropbox.com. Okay, and I'm going to show you that first web page here. Dropbox.com looks like this, and the first thing you'll see is the Download Dropbox button. You're going to press that, and if you're on a Mac, that will send it to your Downloads folder, which can also be accessed with this little button right here. If you click this, that will allow you to access the file. Okay? But we're going to skip past that since most of you have Dropbox installed already. You'll simply use your email login and password. And then, of course, you'll need to install this on your iPads also. Okay? Now, on the iPad, the Dropbox app comes up like this. And it shows you your various folders on the left. And but in order for us to get a folder where the students can place their work, we need to create one on the Dropbox site or within the Dropbox folder on your computer. Okay, now the way you do that is you open your Dropbox folder, and if you're not sure where that is, you can click the small icon on the top menu near the clock, click on it once, and click Open Dropbox Folder. Okay, so we're now looking at the contents of your Dropbox. And what we're going to do is we're going to simply create a new folder, okay? And this little icon right here is the Create New Folder in the Current Location button. So I'm going to click that, and we're going to call this, you can see it down here, we're going to call this Students, okay? And then, depending on how many students you have in your class, most of you number your students, give your students a number that correlates with their iPad. So within this, we're going to create one folder for each student. So I'm going to call this one 01, hit enter. I'm going to go back to students, click another new folder, 02, and you get the idea. I'm not going to create 30 folders here, but you get the idea that each student will have their own folder. Okay? All right, so we've done that on our Dropbox, and what that means is those same folders will now appear when the student clicks in their Dropbox on their iPad. So I'm going to go down to the S part, and sure enough, here is the student folder we just created. So I'm going to click that, and just as expected, we have those three folders that I just now created. Okay, so what you'll do is you will drop those documents into the student folder first, and in this case we're going to pretend that we want to open up a math page. We want to send them a math page. So I have on my computer here, I have PDF documents that I've saved into a folder called Math, and I'm going to send them this little second grade math PDF. Okay, so I'm going to two-finger click it, or if you have a mouse, right-finger click, or right-click. I'm going to click Copy, And then I'm going to simply navigate to my Dropbox folder on my computer. And I'm going to go ahead and just drop this right into the student box. Okay. So this is how you distribute the papers. You have just distributed this so that any student in your class with Dropbox installed can now access that paper. So let's go back to the iPad. And let's take a look. We're going to go to the student folder, where your students would go to the student folder. So I'm going to click on student. And sure enough, there's the file that they need. So they would tap on that, and this would just be their normal routine. You say there's a paper available for you to download in the student folder. They all open up their iPad. Sure enough, there it is. Now, how do they get that into the Notability app? Here's how you do it. This little button at the extreme upper right is the open in. So you click that, and then they would click open in. And this will pull up a list of all the apps capable of reading that PDF. And in this case, we're going to click on Notability. Okay. Now the first choice it'll give us is if we want to add it to a note or create a new note. And in this case, we want to create a new note and then click OK. Okay, now as that takes a moment to open, we should have our PDF very soon. And here we are. Okay, now the beauty of Notability, as you're aware, is that the students can scroll. Now we're now looking on the iPad. The students can now select a pen tool. I think I'll use blue, and I'll give it a fairly thin line. And they are ready to complete the work. Lily buys 3 boxes of markers on number 2. Each box has 6 markers in it. How many markers does Lily buy in all? So she's going to go 3 boxes times 6 equals 18. She's going to put that over here. 18 markers. And by the way, if you think this is cool because you're not familiar with this, this is the power of Notability. Okay, so we don't want to take all the time here. Let's pretend that they're done with this paper, and it's now time for them to submit it back to the teacher within their student folder. Here's how you do it. We're going to click right here. This is the share button. We're going to select Dropbox. We're going to select PDF, which is already selected, but just in case it wasn't, you can see that there are other choices here. We want to click PDF. And then we're going to choose the folder. So so the students need to learn to navigate to the folder that is their corresponding student number. So they would go down to Students. We're going to pretend this is student number 3. And then they're going to click Export to O3. Okay, that brings them back here, and now they simply click Send to Dropbox. Okay, it's now working. And boom, just that quickly, their job is done. They have now submitted it to you, the teacher. And depending on the speed of your wireless, it'll take a few moments to upload. But here's what we get. Okay, so let's close out of Notability. And now let's come back to our computer screen where you, the teacher, can then go into their folder and simply check their work. And here's how you do it. You navigate back to your Dropbox folder. Scan down to Students. Let's go to Student 03. Sure enough, there is their paper. We open that up. Now, my window's a little too large here. Let's shrink that down so we can see. And lo and behold, let's size that a little bit better. Here is their paper complete with their annotations. So you now have the chance to annotate that yourself via Notability if you like, send it back, or simply note their grade and send it back to their folder. Okay, and that's really all there is to it. You have now distributed a document, they've worked on it wirelessly, and submitted it to you wirelessly, all without ever printing a page, wasting printer toner or ink, or pen and pencil. And that is the power of Notability combined with Dropbox and the iPad. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll give this a try.